taxes!
He's a 10.
I choose this family.
Hey guys, and welcome to episode 130 of 911 Lone Star Roundup. I'm one of your hosts, EJ, and with me are my lovely co-hosts, Katie and Grace.
Hey guys.
Hello. Today we'll be talking about episode 4 of season 8 of 911. We've got a lot to talk about, and I'm really glad we're going back and we're just doing this episode because I think a lot of stuff happened in this episode that so much happened. So yeah, let's get to it. So our first little scene we get is Buck is out golfing with Gerard.
Not them being stereotypical white men.
Honestly.
Yeah, I remember when the pictures were dropped that we saw Oliver golfing with him, but everyone's like, oh, what's happening? And they, there was that, of course, I was like, well, maybe Eddie's with them too. And then people were pulling up the picture of Eddie golfing from a few seasons ago. I was like, nope, not the same time. But Gerard is talking about how everyone at the 118 is soft and how Bobby coddled them. And Buck's like, I don't think that's true. And, here Buck's having to sit and listen to all of this, like, as far as he's concerned, Bobby's his dad. And this guy is like bad mouthing his dad. And Gerard is like kind of going off on his own little tangent. And is like, you know what? Nobody has accused him of anything. And Buck's like, it
was like, you know what nobody's accused me of being? And Buck's like, beloved. And Gerard's like, right. And I'm like,
because they were
no
talking
shit.
about Bobby being beloved.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. I was trying, because it's been a little while since I watched the episode, but I was trying to think, and like the vibe I was getting was that there was some jealousy coming off of Gerard and also some like frustration. So it was like, here he's talking about like all this, and it was like he kind of wants to be beloved, but also like he's a crotchety old man, and that's never gonna happen.
He's a crotchety old racist bastard as well. But like there's
like the man that is still at a job that I'm not even sure he likes.
Right.
And he just needs to effing retire. I know one of those.
Agreed. Yeah, I know a few of those too.
I was watching this and I was like, well, boo fucking who?
Honestly.
I don't.
The scene gets worse when he said that Buck lucked out by saving him because now Buck gets to be the one to pick for Gerard because of all the budget cuts that are coming. He has to fire somebody from the 118, and Buck gets to choose who that is.
Honestly, I want to acknowledge good on Buck because he wasn't just standing there not saying anything. He was actively like speaking back and being like, yeah, I don't think so. Hey, I don't think that's a great idea. Like during multiple points in this conversation, I think a lot of people were like worried about him being like steamrolled. And honestly, I was pretty impressed that he stood up for like himself and his family. It's a precarious position.
Yeah.
So, good on him. But yeah, no, I was just watching this and I'm like, why is he back?
Yeah, it's funny because I do really like this episode, but this scene particularly is like hard because it's just like they're totally bashing his family or Gerard is. And it's just like, it's so uncomfortable. Like, like I just want to crawl my skin thinking of Buck, like just being like, oh my god, this is happening. Okay.
Yeah, it's I don't envy it.
So then we go.
And also, yeah, I hate that he's even still here. Why are we having this whole conversation?
No,
I know that was like every episode, like the first 4. That's why they were so hard, is because of Gerard. I'm like, why the heck is he still here? Like, he shouldn't even be here in general. Like, I think the storyline makes no sense because, like, how does a man like that still have a job with everything he did? Like, I feel like that should have been at minimum like a demotion.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, I definitely do not like Gerard. But then we go to the beloved captain, Bobby, and Athena. They're house hunting. They're at this place that definitely is a step up from where they were living before. But Athena is just not feeling it. It just doesn't feel right. I'm like, is anything gonna feel right?
That's my thought because I'm just
Yeah,
like, I kind of know where her head's at
Yeah.
and I know what she's thinking. And like Bobby's like, oh, this place is nice. Like, and like Athena's like, no, just
Right.
vibes off.
and also it's not like they're upgrading or anything. It's
Yeah.
they lost their house. So
Yeah.
I think at surface level it would make sense if she just wasn't ready to do the
Right.
transition from a house that she thought she was gonna, die in essentially. But
Right.
Right. And
like,
like, yeah, and like she's like, it's not like they were expecting to have to go house hunting and like and
yeah, no.
stuff. Like people a lot of times people like at some point they're like, oh, I want to downsize, like I don't have kids living in my house anymore.
Mhm.
Like obviously they do have Harry staying there, but like they really
I
don't need
mean,
that much room,
supposedly he has not shown up in
supposedly.
ages.
I know there is like some drama behind the scenes. I feel like we're calling it drama, but there is like some things I've heard about behind the scenes.
Mm,
So, it is interesting, not involving Harry, but involving some of the other
yeah,
recurring people.
Yeah.
yeah.
So then we go over to the 118. The news is on, and of course Ortiz is, there and talking on it, which, gives, Hen is just glaring at the TV, which obviously she should be.
Same girl.
And Ortiz is saying she's running for mayor for her son, and she's launching an eyes and ears program to hold first responders accountable. And Chim is like, what does that mean? And then they're doing the lineup, and every one of them is given a body cam, like the police wear. And they have to wear them from the time they get out of the fire truck to the time they get back in the fire truck. So they're going to try and record everything that happens so they can blame firefighters, which I am totally not cool with.
That's like too much. And
Yeah.
I've honestly even seen it at the level of like in certain stores if they have like a lot of like people steal a lot of things, they'll literally make the employees wear body cams and I'm like, that's too much. Like that is literally like that is
Mhm.
just too much. Like that's just like too much pressure to put on people. And
Yeah.
like I do not like that. And it's just the fact that Ortiz is she literally, not even like, oh, we're making all departments. Oh no, we're testing it out with the 118. I
Right.
wonder why.
She's trying to get more ammunition to, ruin Hen even more
Yeah.
and the 118 because she's got it out for him. Because she's
Mm.
still fully blaming the Hen and the 118 for the death of her son.
And she's weaponizing her kid too in her campaign. Like it's not
Mhm.
even like, like I'm not saying I doubt like she loved her son or whatever, but this is certainly a way to, weaponize his death.
Yeah, she's using her son's death in the wrong way. Usually people do positive things when their kids die in honor of them.
Mhm.
No, she's doing this just to try and get back at them. And I'm like, that's not gonna win you any points anywhere. And so we get to see the body cam footage for the next call, which is call it a football game or practice. And at first I was like, what is this weird camera set? And then I was like, oh, it's supposedly depicting the body camera footage.
Yeah, which I'm used
Yeah.
to like the body cam in camera shows because that's what the Rookie does with some of their scenes. Like some of
Yeah.
their scenes will be like the body cam. So
Yeah.
I'm used to like visually that switching from like the normal camera to that. But it's definitely weird.
Yeah. So this kid had hit him. It was a male cheerleader, and he had done a backflip or some sort of tumbling flip and landed in a way that caused him to break his pelvis. So his
Well, he got ran into by two different football players and propelled
right.
into a
And
bench.
Yes.
that's what I was like. I knew it was something specific. So yeah, so he hit this bench and he landed so in a way where the front side of his legs were down like facing the ground, but his body was facing up. So like basically his body just turned around.
I know that was
To use the terminology from the show, he was ass back.
Yes. Oh my God. Like this is so like I'm like rewatching this last night and I'm like, oh, this call just gives me such like it's just like it's so gnarly like looking, and like just the thought of it just makes my like, oh, I feel so bad for him. And also
Yeah.
like I'm just like, oh, that is not, oh, it honestly
I'm
makes
like,
my
yeah, that's not
muscles
good.
hurt right now thinking
Right.
about it.
Yeah.
Honestly, I look at that, I'm like, I will never complain about a backache ever again.
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
I really like this call because we've kind of seen Gerard and being very by the book and very hard. He like really hard on the team. But in this case, like even Hen and Chim had never seen something like this. Hen knew about it from like textbooks when she was going through medical school, but
Right.
Eddie was really the only person who'd ever seen an experience like this or a
Of
situation
course.
like this, which, so it's kind of bringing back his military training and the time overseas. So he kind of took lead on taking care of the kid, which was really awesome. And the kid's mom is there, which is even always hard to have. But they do manage to get the kid together and on the stretcher and into the ambulance. And this was a really important scene, I think, for Eddie as well, because he's having an opportunity to talk to the kid about the kid's dad, who hadn't shown up to anything of his because he's a male cheerleader and he thinks his dad's embarrassed by him. Which here Eddie's basically not communicating with his son, and he's struggling with that. So Eddie kind of feels for the kid because the kid wants to have a relationship with his dad, but his dad's refusing. And now it's the other way around for Eddie. Eddie's son is refusing to have a relationship with his, dad. And yeah. But I don't know. It was good. I'm really glad they're letting Eddie step up, and Gerard didn't like pitch a fit about Eddie doing that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
for sure. And I always love watching, Medic Eddie come out.
oh
Right.
yes, I love it.
Mm-hmm.
So it was good to see.
So then we go to Hen and Karen at court. They're trying to get their foster license reinstated, and the opposing counsel brought up the fact that having lost their foster license, they should not be having contact with Mara. But Hen, there's pictures that they found, quote unquote, found of Hen and Karen and their son, along with Mara, Ji-yoon, Maddie, and Chim out at a park.
Yeah, which was totally like a PI or something
Yeah.
like that. Like obviously it came from Ortiz. So she obviously had
Right.
somebody following them.
Private investigator.
Yeah,
But
that's what I'm
regardless,
thinking.
it doesn't look good because they're not
Mhm.
supposed to have contact with her. So it definitely is
Right.
Yeah.
for that.
Thankfully, the judge does let Hen speak a little, and Hen's explain that they've been in contact with Mara because they're not petitioners as they are her parents, and explains that Mara should have never been taken from their home the way that it happened, and that she's being used as a pawn by someone who has a vendetta against Hen, a very powerful someone. And she actually calls out Ortiz, which she should finally, and she explains, and then Hen begs the judge. So then we don't really see what the judge responds with, but then we get a call. So Hen calls Maddie, and Maddie's answering like she's 911.
I know that
joke.
was like
Maddie was at home with Tim and the kids, and Hen tells Maddie that they're still at the courthouse and that the hearing did not go well. And she asked, because Denny's also there, and she asked if they can give Denny a ride home because they can't see Mara. So the judge ordered no contact with them and Mara, which means that they can't go over to Chim and Maddie's to pick up Denny, and so it's not looking good.
right. Yeah, which they did, like the opposing counsel is like wanting them to send Mara back to a group home knowing all this.
Yeah.
So at least in this sense, like she doesn't have to go back to a group home.
Right. Which is good, because I think Mara has come a long way, even just opening up to Hen and Karen. So even this like move over to Chim and Maddie's was kind of a big deal, but it didn't really send her backwards in her recovery.
Right, yeah, because even like then, like she was starting to even build a relationship with them and stuff.
Then we head back over to Bobby and Athena, and Bobby was working a night shoot, so he woke up late. And Athena brings up Bobby calling Chief Simpson and asking him to find another house so he can, captain it. And Bobby's like, I only want the 118. Obviously, it's his family. He wants to go back to it. So he's not the 118 is not the only one that wants him back. He wants to go back to, but currently Gerard is taking that place. And then Athena's joking about Bobby stealing another fire truck and driving it into the station, and Bobby said he's considering it. In other words, it's like, well, that's an option.
It is in fact an option.
Is it a wise one? Probably not.
No, but it's an option.
And then the house topic comes up again, and Athena says maybe the reason why she can't find the one she loves is because she didn't she already had the place that she loved, and she thinks they should rebuild the house they had because she already has the blueprints that Michael used before when they built the house, because Michael built the house for them. And then obviously Athena is extremely happy about this idea, and Bobby is kind of not really into it. And I don't blame him. I totally would be in the same boat. Yeah. And I've seen it with friends. They had a friend that it was kind of similar situation. She had a house before they got married. He moved into her house, and then a few years later, they're like, "Yeah, we kind of want to have our own, like our house." So they end up buying another house. But so this would be a perfect time for Bobby and Athena to have their house. But Athena's stuck in the past a little in that way.
Yeah.
She's not thinking about it from Bobby's angle because she was not the person who had to move.
Yeah.
And so like I it's understandable. She doesn't have that perspective. But like I completely get Bobby's view. Like it made sense for them to live in the house before, right? But now they have an opportunity to, do something a little bit different.
Which I think is glad they're showing it. And I'm glad they're not just letting them like, oh, they're just moving into this new house scot-free, no big deal. I'm glad they're, showing what really real couples can go through in this kind of stuff. So then we see Hen going directly to Ortiz, and she starts telling her about Mara and showing her the video of her talking about her birthday list. And then she explains, all this that we were just talking about, about Mara and how when she came to live with them, she was nonverbal and was completely closed off from the world around her. Hen tells her that Mara needs her family back, and they're all she has. Then Ortiz, of course, is back. Well, her son was all she had, and she's expected to go on without him. Maybe Hen should too. Dude, I love Kitty's note, and he's like, bitch, shut up. I was like, yeah.
Oh, you guys should. I mean, I have videos of me watching the episodes, but like, you guys should hear me because I'm just like, and like most of these, I'm like, oh, this is what I was really saying when I was watching this. Like, I'm just like, shut up.
Right? No, I agree. Yeah. And Hen says, she's like, punish me, not Mara, basically. It's like, don't punish Mara because she can't forgive Hen. If Hen could go back and change the outcome, she would, but she can't.
Not to mention, she wasn't like Ortiz wasn't there. She doesn't know. He refused. He was completely belligerent and refused medical advice. What was Hen supposed to do? Like go over that? Because if it was the opposite way around, if it was anything else, like if she had, it's kind of like damned if you do, damned if you don't. Because if she had gone against medical advice and helped him, she probably would have still been mad.
Right.
And not only that, but the county would be mad. You cannot overcome someone's direct refusal.
Right.
Like it's not as simple as that. Right. So yeah, I mean, the body cameras would have come in handy here.
Yeah. And so then, Ortiz even has the nerve to say, oh, and give my regards to your captain. And Hen has this like all of a sudden realization that Ortiz is the reason that Gerard is the 118, which I'm glad she's starting to put the pieces together. Obviously that's going to impact some things later on in the episode. Like, can we just get rid of Gerard already? Because I'm like done with this dude.
I know. It's like two villains. Get rid of them both.
Right.
Let's go.
So Bobby's off the afternoon, and so what happens? The whole 118 comes to him with their problem,
and I'm like, this looks awfully familiar,
right?
Oh, it happens like every season.
Yeah.
Well, it happened when he was also displaced last time too.
Yeah.
I'm like, this looks familiar.
Yeah. So first we have Hen. She's talking about Gerard, and I love Hen being like, he's not my captain, which he's not. And Hen tells Bobby Chief Simpson isn't the reason why Gerard has Bobby's spot. And Hen's like, it's more like Ortiz is the reason. Then
This is so funny. I've seen so many edits to the scene. Oh my God, I love it.
And then
I mean,
Buck is telling Bobby that he has to quit because he's just recently been given this job of, picking the person at the 118 to fire. And he's like, I don't want to be Gerard's favorite anymore. He calls me his little buddy and he touches me, and Bobby's face just goes like, excuse me, what?
yeah.
And I love how Buck's, no, not like that. I was just
But
like,
still,
like, what? I was like,
that was kind of funny. But I love how Buck like twice was like, that job that he like sued the department for like 5 seasons ago. He's just like, oh yeah, no, never mind. I'm ready to quit.
right.
Twice in like 4 episodes.
No, right?
honestly,
And then Bobby's like, you can't quit because he likes you. He's like, but Buck tells him how Gerard wants him to be his henchman and help them fire somebody from, because of budget cuts. And then we've got Eddie, who is talking about the kid from the call, and then he talks about how it just pisses him off because here's a kid who wants to have his dad in his life, and he doesn't even bother to show up. And even Bobby is like, are we sure you're not talking about a different father and son? So he calls Eddie out.
ooh,
Yeah.
love it.
Like, any father should. And then Eddie says how much he misses Chris. He's trying to respect his wishes, but they only Zoom a couple of days a week. And Chris barely says a word to Eddie. And Bobby's like, are you sure it's not the mustache? And Eddie's like, you don't like it?
His face when he says you don't like it, he's like, wait, you don't like it?
And Bobby's like trying not to respond to that.
Honestly, the whole fandom with that effing mustache.
I think we had a love-hate relationship with it.
Like,
it grew on me. I don't like mustaches, but it grew on me. A little bit like a fungus, but it grew on me.
like, yeah, that's a good point.
Like,
okay, hiatus during like when we saw like the behind the scenes before the season aired, I was like, I don't like it. Then the season started, and I'm like, I don't know, maybe like after an episode or two, I was like, okay, it is growing on me. But then when it's finally gone, which we're not there yet, not even close,
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm so happy it's gone. Thank God.
right?
Yeah, I hate mustaches, but it's good. Also, I feel like half the firefighters you see in real life also have mustaches.
Yes,
Because you can't have full facial hair.
Right.
So
right, which Eddie made
I'm
that
like,
point too, I think at some point in the season.
Yeah.
I'm not sure, but that would make sense. I was like, it kind of adds a realism to it, I think.
Yeah. Which is why I thought they let him do it in the first place. Because nobody aside from Gerard had it. So I thought that was why they were doing it, was to bring, that element in. And he's doing his own
it grew
thing.
on me, but like, no. I'm glad when it eventually leaves.
So then we have Bobby and Chim talking about the house plans, and Bobby is not thrilled, and Chim's like, yeah, because this is not the house you should be rebuilding. He's like, you need to come back to the 118. It needs you. Chim mentions how Gerard was going to retire, but his ego wouldn't let him.
Yeah.
I really like this scene. I remember seeing the clip of Oliver, Ryan, and Kenny outside the door.
Oh God,
they're gonna go talk to Bobby, and I was like, it was so funny because they were just making a joke about it, but I was just like, of course everybody's gonna go to Bobby because he's the only father figure they trust.
Yeah, they all have daddy issues, so naturally, no.
Right.
We're coming back to this.
Yeah. So next lovely scene, call, whatever you want to call it.
Oh my God.
Athena gets called to the hospital because this guy came into the hospital with scratches and a gash on his arm so deep it's down to the bone, and it's because the guy claims that a pit bull bit him, or his pit bull.
Okay, let's ruin things. Let's stop reinforcing the whole pit bull thing.
Also one thing I hate
agree.
that people do, like, it is such a stereotype, and I
Also, all the
hate it.
kitties I've ever met are the sweetest creatures alive.
Yeah, I had a when I was much younger, she was a half boxer, half pit. And she was so sweet. She did have like, because she was a rescue, she did have like, there was definitely something like mentally wrong with her. So like I forget how old she was. After we had her a couple of years, we did have to surrender her back to the rescue because she attacked one of the dogs we had. But I think it was because she was abused before we had her.
Yeah.
And
They're
so
not
it was
violent of
very
their own
sad.
nature.
It was
They're
very
bred to be
sad.
violent. They're treated bad. It's blame the
Right.
previous owners, you know. So yeah,
Right.
but so I was
Yeah.
like, there's that, like, of course, but also in this case, like, how did he think that was gonna go for him? Because in this case, the
The
city would
gashes
demand
are
that the
so
dog gets
deep.
put down.
Oh,
Yeah.
and I hate that even more
Yeah.
because it's
Yeah.
like it's not, and like if a dog is like abused and then it attacks because it does have like some trauma or whatever you want to call it. Like I don't feel like it should be the dog's fault.
Right.
Yeah. Usually that is entirely on the owner. Not always, but usually.
Yeah.
So yeah, I was just like, how did this guy think it was gonna go for him? Because they would have demanded to have the dog at some point.
Right.
He
And
didn't
then
think it through.
Athena is like, I was called down here for a dog bite, but the doctor's, telling her that the issue is the bite is way more severe than what a dog could do. And it tore through muscle and exposed bone. And the doctor says he doesn't think they're dealing with a pit bull, which I do agree. Some of the larger dog breeds do have stronger jaws, but I don't think one would ever like tear flesh off of bone and expose bone. It's very rare.
If
Also,
anything,
not
it
with
would
such.
just be like, if anything, it would just break. If a dog really bit you, it would mostly break skin.
Mm-hmm. And maybe tear depending on how you pull when the dog bites.
Right.
But
And also, like, it wouldn't be so clean, if that
yeah.
made sense. Like, this was a very, like, these are clean gashes. This was like clean bites.
Mm-hmm.
It would have to tear so much
Mm-hmm.
for this kind of thing. Also, like the claw prints, way too big.
Oh yeah.
Way too, like, what
Yep.
kind of pit bull are you smuggling? Because that
Right.
is not a regular.
Apparently fed it Miracle Grow while it was born, when it was growing up. But in
Right?
Athena's just talking to the guy, he does finally admit that it's a tiger, which answers
Which
so
we
many
don't even
questions.
see.
Right.
But
not
we
yet.
do see. Oh man.
I'm
But
just
like,
like,
yeah.
And then we
What?
see kind of another scene, which is the building manager of his building, specifically the guy who was bit, is going to his door to collect his rent. And she hears a noise and assumes he's in there and just not answering the door. So she goes inside and gets mauled by well, no, I take that back. She goes inside, sees the tiger, and runs to the bathroom, but does end up getting scratched by it, and is hiding in the bathroom when she calls 911.
Yeah. I mean, it's a studio apartment. She went to the only place with a door.
yeah, pretty
exactly.
much. Pretty
No
much.
other
And
choice.
I'm just like, what is
Which,
people with having animals that you know damn well you should not have? Like, I've seen this on so many shows.
Yeah.
Like, I remember the Grey's Anatomy episode they did with this, where it was the same situation. Somebody had a tiger that they shouldn't have. Then all of a sudden, you see tigers just roaming around the streets, and they're like, "Wait,
Yep.
that's a tiger?"
Yep.
which I will say, like, I had a couple of little, like, logistical nitpicks with this. First of all, yes, I think we find out at some point that he got the tiger as a cub. But
Mhm.
like, how did he get the cub?
Right.
Did he raid a zoo?
Yeah.
Also, realistically speaking, if he had the tiger since he was a cub, probably it would have had to have been socialized a little bit, so
Yeah.
it shouldn't have gone after him, even though maybe the story he said was partially true and they were just roughhousing initially. Like,
Mhm.
maybe that's
Yeah.
it. Like, it wouldn't probably wouldn't have just attacked him out of the blue. Also, like, I don't know how long it takes a tiger to get largely fully grown. Like, it looked like a young or teenage tiger, but it looked like a young adult at the very least.
Mhm.
But surely someone would have noticed, its first roar. it's
Right.
mewing. It certainly
Right.
someone would have noticed something.
Yeah. It's funny because you see these things in the news every once in a while of people
Mhm.
like, oh, we found a tiger, blah, 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 blah. And I'm just like, people should
I'm
not
just like, no
have
one
these as pets.
noticed.
It's not a
No,
pet. It's not
it's
like
Well,
this
not a
cute little
pet.
cat.
yeah. Well, and especially it being a studio apartment, how on
Like that's
earth
not enough room. Yeah, I
would
don't. eh,
yeah,
I just have so many questions.
I know.
Like, is this an animal smuggling ring? Did he
So
steal it from
I
the zoo?
Oh, I got it. He stole it when it escaped a few seasons ago. The
yeah.
animals got out of the zoo.
There you know
Oh
what?
yeah.
They could have done that. Was
They could
they
have.
could have linked it.
Right.
That
Oh,
would
I
have been
just picked
funny.
up this little cub that was loose in the yeah, okay. Um
Listen, if I had stumbled across a tiger cub running around the city, I also would have been inclined to take it home. I wouldn't have, but I would have wanted to
right.
because it's a little baby tiger.
Yeah. Um
Because when they showed the like little clip of him bringing it home and it's a baby, I went, "Baby."
yeah. So
So
then
my
we get
self-preservation instincts are non-existent.
right. So obviously the 118 show up, but they can't just immediately go in because the tiger's basically ready to pounce on this gal that's in the bathroom. So they go up on the outside and try. Chim is going to drop down and try and get a peek and see where the tiger is. Tiger surprises him, jumps up, lunges at the window when Chim does end up getting there. They have to, shoot the tiger with a trank gun, and as soon as it goes down, Buck and everybody else is able to go in and rescue the gal who'd been attacked by the tiger.
Really, what a terrible day for her.
Yeah, yeah. Here she's
That
just
sucked.
trying to like serve, eviction notice, and you're getting
Yep.
attacked by a tiger.
Yep. She's like,
What I think
oh, I love my life.
what I think would have been kind of funny is if he got served eviction notices and then like his last day there, he just walks out with the tiger.
Yeah.
like like you can't do shit then. I mean, you
Well,
can
I
report
so
him, but like
when I was younger and we had pets, we actually my vet was a little older, and by older I meant like way past retirement age, and he was locally known in the area. He actually had for a long time at his clinic had a lion or a tiger. He had one. I can't remember which one it was, and it was a rescued animal. Yeah, I know. I can tell Grace's eyes a little perked up. Yeah, so he had a patio up on his deck that he actually kept the tiger most of the time when it wasn't, out inside. And so I guess the vague story that I got was that it was a animal that had been a part of a zoo or something that was closing down, and he had been the veterinarian taking care of it at some point or had a connection to it. So when they asked him if he would take the animal, they agreed to take it. And so there was like legal documentation that he could do that. But this was back in like the 60s and 70s when, like that's not a thing. And he kept the animal, and, obviously as a veterinarian, you were able to take care of it. And he had some beautiful pictures somebody had painted of him and the tiger, the lion together.
that's so cute.
Yeah, so it's a really cool story. But so he was my veterinarian for my pets for a couple of years, and cool stories, hearing about it. But it's a very rare thing to happen. So this guy was way out of his element having a cat like that in a studio apartment. There is a couple on YouTube that I follow that have a cougar, Puma Messi. He's a Puma, and they've had him since he was a cub. And they started out, I think, in a studio apartment. But a cougar and a male cougar is like a large dog size, whereas a tiger gets a little bigger.
Yeah.
Well, there was oh gosh, there was someone I feel like my family knew who they had a pet lynx.
Okay.
And the thing is, yeah, sure, a lynx, whatever. They kept it on a fruit only diet.
Okay.
It's a lynx.
Yeah.
We were like, that thing's gonna kill something one day because it
Right.
needs meat. But like they were
Sure.
I don't know the term, so I'm just gonna say fruitarians or something like that. They were fruitarians, so they insisted that links had to be, and I'm like, no, no. That's so, I wonder whatever happened to it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hopefully one day it got a rabbit or something. But like,
Yeah. I think they could have done a lot better with this storyline, but I know it was just an emergency call, so I get it.
I mean, it's entertaining if you don't overthink it too much.
Right. And we do that. We're notorious for that. So
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
So then we have Bobby. He invites Gerard to the set of Hot Shots. Gerard tells Bobby that he's living the dream, and Bobby's like, they're kind of talking and about, the whole what Buck said about being asked to pick somebody to leave the firehouse or be fired. And Bobby's like, flat out tells Gerard, I think you should get rid of yourself. And then
I'm like, agreed.
Explains that he's telling Gerard flat out that Ortiz didn't put him in there because she thinks highly of him. She put him there because she is using him, and she's been laughing at him behind his back. And Bobby thought he should just know the truth. And this is the first moment somebody finally goes to Gerard and puts him in a corner and says, okay, this is actually what's going on. This is what you think this grand job you got was. It's not what you think it is. And Bobby's not afraid to tell him like it is. And I'm like, go Bobby.
Yeah. Not to mention, I don't know what
sure.
he thought was going to happen when he went to the house that he was basically like exiled from. Because yes, there are some new people there since he's been there, and people that were there aren't there anymore. But like Chim and Hen completely hate him. Obviously, we saw that like at the end of last season and stuff, and it's just like I don't know what he thought was going to happen. So he thought it was just obviously he did not, but it's just funny. I'm just like, this is what's going on.
I mean, it's like how we said in the beginning of this episode. He's like, well, no one will ever say that about accuse me of being beloved or anything. I'm like, you did that to yourself.
Yeah,
you're a bigot. You know you're a bigot.
Yeah.
And even as recently as last season, he made a homophobic comment to Tommy. Right. I'm like, we're not just talking about, several years in the past and he's gotten better, which we've also seen no sign that he has gotten better. We have seen signs that he's the same. So I'm like, I have comments that I will save for the end of this episode once we finish with, the Gerard storyline. But I'm just like, I don't know what you're going for here,
right?
Man.
Right.
Like, self-inflicted boo fucking
honestly. And also what drives me nuts, Gerard reminds me of one of these people. Is like he reminds me of one of those people where people will literally use as a defense for being like a bigot and being homophobic is, oh, but I grew up in like this time. Okay, you're supposed to adapt to change, adapt, know that things
like do you use a phone? Oh, good, you can learn. Adapt.
Exactly, like things you did like
you can talk
40 years ago
adapt
are not the same, and you have to adapt to that.
Like, obviously you're not going to be perfect right away. You're never going to be perfect. You're always going to do, like, people in the community aren't perfect. We still fuck up. Like, there's within the community itself, speaking as someone in the community, there's a huge issue with, in the community, there's transphobia, there's biphobia, there's acephobia, there's people that cannot accept that other people aren't their way or straight, even. And, a lot of us are jokingly straight phobic, like heterophobic, because we're lashing out at the system that's been forced at us since childhood. But that's joking. We're not generally, most of us are not actually like heterophobic. Also, y'all ain't the minority. But it's like even in the community itself, we are lashing at each other. So it's like, yes, not even the community is perfect. We don't all know everything. We sometimes use terms that we shouldn't, or aren't always inclusive. Okay, like that's not, but you gotta try. And even in the community, we're calling each other out on stuff like this. Like, you gotta call it out. You gotta learn. You're never gonna be perfect about it, but as long as you're trying, that's what counts. But you can't just say I'm trying and then never do something. So like I don't know. That was a long-winded way of saying bull fucking shit.
Right. Which again, Bobby told him, and then we go to this scene where Gerard is talking to Ortiz. And
Yeah.
as fans, and we're watching this, we're like, okay, is he doing this because Bobby called him out and he's trying to get more information, or is he doing this to help or to make things worse?
See,
You don't
I
know.
knew immediately. Seriously, I knew immediately what was happening
So die.
because I was like, wait, the body cam.
Yeah.
Yeah.
See, I don't know if it was because I was like watching this sort of as it was happening or what, but like honestly, I don't know. I guess it's Gerard as a person. I had doubts about who he
Okay.
is as a person, so I'm like, oh, there's no way Gerard could be doing good. So I'm just like, but I also don't know what's going on, and I'm like,
Right.
wait, what?
Yeah. I mean, even with him helping, like potentially helping at this time, I wasn't like 100% sure. Like, there's no guarantee that he's not going to try and twist this in some way for himself. So even if he went in there with like the intention to do something, there's nothing to say that he won't try to double cross them or try and come out better in some way. So there's still a lot of variables, and again, we don't have confirmation what's actually happening for a couple of scenes. So.
Right. So basically, Ortiz is telling Gerard, which he is there in his uniform, so he does have the body camera on, but we obviously can't tell if it's on or if he's just wearing it. And it's just so Ortiz is telling him that she didn't lie to him about why she got him the job back, but she spared him the details. And Gerard said it would have been more effective if they'd been on the same page. Ortiz says, well, they are on the same page and they share a common enemy, and says Hen is the reason why he was pushed out before. He had deserved that for being an asshole and homophobic racist. Just saying, like,
yeah, just in case anyone forgot, just in case.
Yeah, totally deserved it. And then Gerard says, if it's Hen she wants to punish, then she's going about it all wrong. And Ortiz is like, I don't know, I've managed pretty well so far, preventing her from adopting that foster kid. Good luck with her getting another hearing, because she's trying to prevent the adoption of Mara. And Gerard even says that, he's like, oh, so you have a judge in your pocket. And Ortiz says how the judge is a friend who was happy to do what she asked, especially since she's going to be the next mayor. Yeah, right.
Don't pressure luck, bitch.
Exactly.
Like,
oh yeah.
and that's just like, so something would definitely, I feel like if this came out, something definitely would happen to that judge, because that is so unethical.
Uh-huh.
Oh yeah, they're gonna have to face a lot.
Oh yeah, disbarment at minimum, and then possibly fines and jail time for that.
Well, it depends. Like, did she bribe her?
Mm-hmm.
Like, is there bribery involved, or is it simply sweet talk? Because if there's bribery involved, that's a whole other crime in and of itself.
Right.
But also disbarment at the very least. You're going against all the oaths you took as a judge.
Right.
So,
and then so Gerard continues on, and he's like, well, why stop at the kid? He's like, there's other people she's deeply cares about. And he's like, you're going after the wrong family. He's like, it's the 118. Shut down the whole thing. The city wants budget cuts. You shutter an entire house, and suddenly you're a fiscal genius.
Which, him mentioning this is sort of genius,
because
of the reaction. Like, she thinks she's like doing like God's work, and like the reaction you're gonna get. Like, this is just really just opening more and more things up.
Oh yeah, I was watching this, and I just had a fear, because I was like, I knew what was happening from the beginning, but I kept having a fear. I was like, she's gonna see the body cam, like she's gonna think better of this. But she didn't. Once we finally left the scene, I just breathed like, phew. But I was like, I was like, listen, I hate the guy, but credit where credit is due. It was well played.
Yes, and then she's like, oh, that's interesting, but of course, if she were to propose that, Gerard would be out of job. And Gerard's like, he's like, I wouldn't be, because if she's the next mayor, she's gonna appoint him the next fire chief. And Ortiz says,
which was also well played. I'm just gonna say well played, because he has to have his own motive, or else she's gonna get sus.
Then Ortiz is like, what do I get in return? And Gerard said he just gave it to her. Now she knows how to break Hen. And Ortiz says that her and Gerard are a lot alike, which is totally gross. Just
I mean, she's not completely wrong,
No,
but like
ugh.
she yes, also gross.
So we get to this town hall meeting, and Ortiz is gonna shut down the 118. She wants to do that. Hen speaks and says that they all oppose the councilwoman's proposal. And I love how Bobby or Buck, Eddie, Chim are all in there. I think Bobby, you see Bobby, but you don't see anybody else. And I hate this. But Hen speaks, of course, all of them oppose the proposal. And, Ortiz is like, of course you do. And Ortiz is like, this is nothing more than Hen advocating for her own self-interest. We must think of the good of the community. Yeah, no, she's doing this for selfish reasons. I'm sorry.
Yeah, like, bitch, you're one fuck.
Right?
Yeah, exactly.
And then Hen's like, you think this is the good of the community? The community of the men and the women at the 118 have served selflessly for years. And Ortiz says they will continue to serve just from different houses. Well, which is not, and it's okay. It's not uncommon for a firehouse to get closed, but usually there's a reason. The building could be too old. The location is no longer needed. There's, plenty of reasons why, but the men and women that are there are moved to other firehouses, or they rebuild another firehouse nearby that might be in a better condition. So I get it. But in this situation, it's totally money, because honestly, you're still having, the city's still going to have to pay for the money of the building and the property and the lights and the power and all that stuff. So it's better to them if it's being used. So Hen says how the 118 isn't just an item on a ledger, and the people who serve there are not just simply employees. He's like, they're a family. And Hen says, I will be damned if I will stand by while you waste your power and your position trying to break up that family the way you broke up mine. And Ortiz denies knowing anything that Hen is talking about, which obviously she does know everything. And Hen asks if she can connect her phone to their TV that they have there to share a video. So what does Hen do? She plugs in her phone and shows the entire conversation that Ortiz and Gerard had, because Gerard actually supported Hen and gave her the video.
She like or
Ortiz's face.
Oh yeah.
When she realized she was used by Gerard, like he used her, and I love it.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And so Ortiz starts yelling that she didn't give consent to be recorded. And Hen says she gave her consent when she demanded that the 118 wear body cameras while dealing with the public. Everything on there is public record. And Gerard is there in the background. He goes in and says, hey, she's not wrong.
Yeah.
I'm like,
it's
go
true.
Gerard.
Like, bitch, you
Which
were the
is
one
good
that wanted
because
body cams. You're just mad it was used against you.
Yep.
California is a two-party consent state, so like if it was just done on the phone or something, yeah, that would have been inadmissible in court.
Right.
But it's still like, because it's a body cams.
Right.
Haha, bitch.
Yep. And so we see a flashback to the conversation with Bobby and Gerard, and it goes into a little more detail. Bobby tells him that he knows he got pushed out of the 118 before, and tells him Ortiz won't repay him or look out for him. She's not going to. She's just using him as a pawn. And he told him that if he's smart, he will help take her down. And Ortiz is like, oh, this is a setup. And Hen is like, sure as hell is. I was like, go ahead.
Yep, it is. And you walked right into that one.
So obviously, news reporters that are in there start, asking all these questions. Ortiz has to run out. She's like, it was
no
so
comment,
good.
no comment, bitch.
Right?
And I'm like, this is the point
like,
where
what
I
can
was
you
like,
say?
bye, bitch.
Yeah.
Like, she can't say anything. This is photographic evidence.
Yeah.
Or video
nothing
evidence.
more to say, honestly.
Right?
She's in deep shit.
Yes.
And she knows it.
And I love how after she leaves and it's kind of like wrapped up, you see all of the 118 members and them hugging Gerard. Because if it wasn't for Gerard helping after Bobby
Did they hug Gerard?
Uh-huh.
I thought they were all hugging each other.
I gotta rewatch that part.
I think they pulled him into the hug too.
I don't think
Maybe they
so.
just
I saw him in the back, but they were all hugging each other.
Oh, well, I thought at one point Bobby walked up to them.
Oh, I don't know. I didn't pay attention.
Bobby walked up to them,
things.
and Gerard was behind him. But I was looking because I was like looking to see if Hen looked at Gerard, or I was looking to see if there was any interaction with him. He was not part of the hug. I'm just finished watching this. I'm pretty sure
clip that I saw outside, like maybe it was a cut scene. I don't know, but I could have sworn it
Maybe.
was. And obviously, our final scene is we get two final scenes, which is Eddie goes to the hospital for the release of the kid who had gotten hurt at the as a cheerleader. And there was a previous scene. Eddie had gone to talk to the kid's father. He did some research, found out who the kid's dad was, and they shared some perspective and talked to each other, father to father, which we didn't really talk about. But I felt like it was a really good Eddie scene. And then the other final scene we get is Mara coming home to Hen and Karen, and obviously they really do well with these music choices. And then we have Bobby and Athena sitting down and talking about the rebuilding of the house that they had been living in. And Bobby finally says he doesn't want to do that. And he only loved being there because it was with Athena, but it was Michael's house. And it takes her a little bit, but she finally kind of sees it.
I mean, she was. I think she was surprised by it because she hadn't thought of that perspective. But it didn't take all that much like convincing. Like you could kind of see her like thinking through it and being like, "Oh yeah, I see that." Which I was glad they didn't have that be like a source of strife or anything. Like I think it's completely reasonable. And so yeah, I was glad that it was pretty clean cut in the end. Though it was clear Bobby had been a little reluctant, I think, to like burst her bubble because she finally was like excited, and she even said this was the first time she was happy about the house hunt. I think his brain just went shit.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean it's gonna be his house too,
right? Which is what it should have been all along. But it isn't surprising, you move into the house that your significant other has already, established. And so then our kind of final wrap up is Bobby's back at the 118 as captain. All is well. The family's back together. We got the welcome back cap sign. Hen's like, did you see the news? And Bobby's like, he did. That Ortiz dropped out of the mayor's race and she will probably resign her city council seat. Everyone's like,
she should.
It's like, I wonder how they got Gerard to, help him. And Bobby says it wasn't hard.
It wasn't hard. So
basically, Gerard and Bobby switched jobs, and Gerard is now at the Hot Shots show, being there.
I'm like, that's perfect for him, honestly. And you can tell in like this bit because it's just like, okay, yep, he's in the right spot because it's like very like little work for him. Like he's already enjoying this. He's like, oh, I can get used to this.
Right. He gets brought his coffee. Yeah. He gets to pick on everything everyone does. You know what? I wanted his last appearance to be him crashing and burning. But if I can't get that, I'll take this. Like no one's gonna stir him from this cozy spot ever again. So you know what? I have thoughts about him being brought back in general, and that I will give I'll give my final thoughts all together in a moment. But like I like seeing that they swapped spots.
Yeah. Because it does give like perspective.
Yeah. Well, and when he visited Bobby at the studio, it had been very he was fanboying a little bit.
Yeah, he was totally like denying that he was a fan. He was like, "Oh, my sister liked this, but I can't watch firefighter shows because all I can notice is everything they're doing wrong." Which
But like his face when he saw Brad, it's like, yeah, right.
Oh, that was when I was like, "You're such a liar. You know you're a fan."
Oh gosh. So so this was the end of the episode. I guess it was a little more than 2 scenes. But yeah, no, I think I'm really glad we wrapped up some of these storylines because I was starting to get a little irritated. I kind of had hoped that they would have been done at the end of episode 3, but since they weren't, I'm glad they wrapped them up in 4.
Yeah. It would have been, I mean, there was like the emergency was like the first 3 episodes, so it was kind of unrealistic for it to be wrapped up in that episode. I feel like they had a lot to cover to wrap up all these storylines. I was happy. Honestly, like everyone before this episode was airing was like, okay, you know, Gerard's gonna be gone, this is gonna happen, this is gonna happen, and I'm like, guys, I'm not really sure if any of that's
Yeah.
gonna happen. Like, but then when I watched this episode, I remember watching it live and getting to the end of the episode and be like, oh my God, all this just happened.
Yeah.
Like, this is all over. Like, the war is over. Oh my God, yes, thank God. Because
Mm-hmm.
it was literally
Yeah.
getting, I was just like, I'm over this. Like, just, I want the 118 to be
Yeah.
back together. I want Gerard to be
Yeah.
gone. Like,
Right.
glad
Yeah.
he played his part.
Yeah. He wound up having a use in the end.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So he redeemed himself a little bit by helping them out. It still doesn't, you know, give him a pass on all the other crap that he did and the things he called
Right.
people. But
Mm.
I'm glad that they worked it out. We got Bobby back at 118. Mara got to, you know, be back with Hen and Karen and Denny. Eddie is starting to have some, I guess, realizations / just time to kind of reevaluate his life. And I think, and it was really cute to see Eddie at the hospital with the kid and having the crutches for the kid and stuff like that. Yeah, and it was a really good episode. I'm really glad they wrapped things up the way they did. And I'm glad there was some angst involved too. Like it wasn't all just smooth, clear cut sailing. But yeah, it was a good episode. I'm glad we're here. I'm glad we're touching on more of the 911 episodes because I know we've been focused on Lone Star and we have a lot to say about a lot of things. And yeah.
Yeah.
What do you guys think?
I really loved it. Like, honestly, this is one of my favorite episodes. And I love how it was like called like No Place Like Home.
Mm-hmm.
Like that
Mhm.
was great just with everything that happened in this episode. I do really like it. It was just like it was a good like, okay, we're gonna finalize all this stuff kind of episode and just everything we got in it. I loved it. I don't know. I do it's just one of those episodes. I do really like it. I don't know.
I really enjoyed the episode. I've not liked that they brought Gerard back ever since they did that last season.
Right.
And I have mixed feelings with how they accomplished what they did in the last few. I feel like he kind of got written down to, oh yeah, funny old grandpa. Don't listen to grandpa. He just bouts off, don't just ignore him. I feel like he got written down to that a little bit, and having not actually seen any character growth, having again seen him make a homophobic comment towards Tommy, um, like in the first scene he comes back in since season 2, like I think he was the perfect person for the way that the scene played out, like how they weaponized him against Ortiz. I really thought that they'd just be working together like complicitly.
Mm-hmm.
I thought it was decently well done. I just don't think it had to be done, but I mean, it's a drama show. I guess they're always going to try and take a turn.
Right.
It doesn't mean I necessarily love it, but
Mm-hmm.
could have been worse. I mean, no one's fawning over him or forming a fan club over him in the show, and I guess that's pretty much all we can hope for at this point.
Right.
But otherwise I really think the episode was really good. I like that we finally started wrapping up some of the storylines. Like
Yeah.
I'll be real. One of my gripes that has started to form has been that like Hen and Karen's storylines have only been centered around them being parents for a few seasons now. Like we've not really gotten a lot of like Hen and Karen shenanigans outside of that.
Right.
So
Like
I'm
them
really
going to the
hoping
club.
like the club was so good, and like Heron's Begins episode, like
Mm-hmm.
I need that Mara is now a part of their family. Like again, she's still fostered, she's not adopted from what I can tell, but like now that that's taken care of, I'm really hoping that we continue getting more Hen and Karen content, but that we move apart from them, like their only roles outside of their jobs being parents.
Mm-hmm.
Like let me have them being feisty with each other, let me have them being saucy, let me have them out solving crime. Like I want this. So I'm hoping we move on from that now a little bit. And we didn't get a lot of Madney this scene, but it was always good to see them like taking care of Mara and loving her.
Yeah.
And just again, just overall, I love seeing Eddie. Um, because we're making some slightly sour lemonade out of lemons with the storyline we gotten like given last season. I still hate that that's where they went with it, but we're rolling with it at this point. So I really I'm glad to see how much he's missing Chris because he's not ignoring it. He's
Yeah.
not disassociating from the problem. He can't. He's missing his only kid. So
Right.
I know what happens in later episodes, so I'm interested to see when we wind up tackling those episodes. I finally watched them. What winds up happening. So overall, I just think it was a good ending episode to a bunch of storylines, a good like middle of the road. I don't really feel like we started any storylines with this. And of course, I'm interested to see eventually what Bobby and Athena wind up going with it for their house too, because now they're building. But
Right.
like, what are they building?
Yeah, for sure.
So yeah, that was very long-winded, but I wanted to get some of those thoughts out there.
Yeah, no, I'm glad you shared.
Because especially going into like I know we're going into our hiatus right now, and the shows are on a hiatus right now, so wanted to get that. But yes, so those are my thoughts. Overall, great episode though.
Yep, great episode. Yep. And so we don't have a preview for the next episode because everything's in hiatus right now. And
Yeah.
Right. I mean, technically we do, but we're also not caught up with talking about the episodes. So it would literally make no sense whatever to even talk about
Right.
it.
That is true. That is true.
We're talking about episodes that are already out right now.
Yeah.
So
It is always weird when that happens because like we're like behind, but like not in our world. I know some people were confused on that because we did talk about 9-1 last season, but that was only because Lone Star wasn't on, and Lone Star was always our main. Like we'll always talk about both of them, but like Lone Star was like the main, so we would always talk about that and then save like 9-1 for when Lone Star wasn't on. So
Right.
I know some people were like messaging me and being like, wait, why aren't you guys talking about this? And I'm like, I promise we will. I know some people would try to tackle both at once. We're not one of those people because we want to talk about everything. And if we tried to cram 2 shows into one episode, it would be like a 6-hour podcast, and we do not have time for
gonna say that. None of us have time for that.
Yeah.
So we'd rather give you guys like the full attention that each show deserves. So I just wanted to specify.
Yeah. So as Grace alluded, and we were talking, so we're gonna go on a hiatus break for the holiday season. And come back with an episode to air the day Lone Star comes back in January, and then we are. God, it's hard to believe we're gonna only have 3 more episodes of Lone Star, and then it's done.
I know. I'm like very
so
much
sad.
in denial. I think I mentioned this last week when we were talking, but I'm like not thinking about it because I cannot think about it yet. I cannot let myself go there.
I mean, we could just not talk about the final episode and then it will never end.
Oh my god.
Clearly, that's how it works.
Where people like it's like the episode and then it's like something bad happens, like a character dies, and then they just close the laptop.
Yeah.
I've seen those.
And we've laid out our episodes enough that it looks like we will have the right amount of 911 episodes to talk about between the end of Lone Star and the beginning of when 911 season 8B comes back in I believe mid to late March. So we've got plenty of stuff to talk about. So we're still gonna be around. We're just gonna take a break for the holiday season because traveling and family and holidays and can get a little hectic, and we want to make sure we can give you a full episode and not just a quick one. So that's kind of our current plan. Thank you guys for just sticking with us and being around for all of this. I know it's been 4 years now that we've been doing this. I'm so happy.
Yeah. Like
we've been
literally
stuck together doing this, and not even stuck. We've been doing this together for a long time, and we've all been gotten to be good friends and made a lot of great friends with our fans too. So keep up, and we're not going anywhere, even if Lone Star is gone and 911 does its thing. But hey, we might have another 911 to talk about, and
I know, and I have
pick
so
up another
many
series to
thoughts
watch.
on that.
I know. I know
You
that
know,
there's
I think it'd be really funny if we picked up some of the most obscure emergency dramas and just decided to talk
right.
about
I
Yeah.
them.
know. I think that would
Absolutely
be
not connection
fun.
at all, but how do y'all feel about talking about a 70s emergency drama?
I
wanna
know
watch
it would be fun because,
emergency.
like, if you think about it, like we started talking about Lone Star and then like 911, so it'd be fun to just randomly pick up like an episode of like another emergency drama and be like, hey, these are our thoughts. Because honestly, this is our brand at this point is emergency dramas.
Right.
Or just
Yeah,
like there's
totally.
so much
We
we
all
can
love it.
do.
Yeah. And I think we all pretty much love that kind of stuff. So yeah, for sure. If you got a season or a series that you think that you would love to hear us talk about, I'm sure we can figure out something.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
And let us know if it's on streaming somewhere, because some of us may have not watched it
Please.
when it was airing.
Yes, it's me. Hi. I definitely have not I have not watched most streaming emergency dramas. So no, it'll be great though. We will be here for a long time.
Yep. Again, thank you guys so much for joining in and listening. Be sure to subscribe to the podcast wherever you get your podcasts. Be sure to check out our website at 911lsroundup.com. You guys can also follow the podcast on socials at 911lsroundup on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, and Threads. You can also join our Discord server. The link is in the description of the podcast and on our website.
You guys can follow me, Katie at Flow of Charles on Instagram, TikTok, and Threads.
You guys can follow me Grace at Ronan Rafa 911 on Instagram and Threads.
You can follow me, EJ, at EJ8302 on Instagram, Threads, and everywhere. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.